Welcome back to Rhyme and Reasoning, the podcast where me and my guests discuss and debate the cyclical nature of the world through a pop culture lens. Today, unfortunately, Noe could not be with us. He is opening, it's the grand opening of Ground Zero Jiu-Jitsu. Please show him some love and go check out the Jiu-Jitsu in Ed Couch, Texas. If not, just follow him on Instagram. He'll love to see the support. As always, I got Victor Jr. with me.
Yes, sir.
Today we got special guest. I had to bring in some millennials, so I went and convinced my daughter and my son-in-law to join us. So today we have Deanna and Oscar Rodriguez.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
So today's topic is going to be social media. So what I try to do on this podcast is we talk about the difference in generations as far as how I seen it from the 80s and 90s as a Generation X, how you guys may see it as being millennials, and how Victor has to overcome some of those generations, or how his generation has to overcome some of the things that we went through, and how us older generations always want to say they're not good enough for us. And unfortunately, Victor's generation probably hears that a lot.
Yeah.
So don't feel free to speak, but also don't hold yourself back as far as you don't have to stick to just your generation. If you feel more comfortable saying, you know, I think I reflect a little like your generation or Victor's generation. Mm-hmm. In our last podcast, Victor and Noe went back and forth pretty much on movies, and it was not generational speaking. It was just what they liked.
Yeah.
So, like I said, today's going to be on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 80s and 90s, we passed notes around class on our personal surveys of who liked and what is your dream car.
Uh-huh.
We also picked up the phone to talk about what happened that day. Mm-hmm. If we couldn't reach them on the phone, we paged them because your dad had a pager.
That's crazy.
Or we carried around film to take pictures of special occasions and went to develop them at the pharmacy. So back in my day, we actually had to go develop the film
and hope we got good pictures.
Yep, these are all.
I mean, I remember that as a little girl. That's crazy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Here's all these actions social media took away, and also made it that my co-hosts today probably have no idea about. So, like Victor probably doesn't remember having to go to Rite Aid or CVS and waste an hour waiting for the picture.
They still sell those Kodak cameras at Walgreens, and they still develop them for you too.
Is that something that they're bringing back though?
I don't know if they're bringing it back, but I remember when I was in my first year in college, I did a lot of that.
I don't think they're bringing it back. I think people are just getting back into the old stuff, old way pictures look.
Because like recently on social media, I've noticed that not the film cameras, but the other ones that you would actually connect to your computer and download. What are the little small ones that are like silver, like, or they're different colors? I don't know.
Like the Fujifilm one?
No, I can't remember. But like they've been bringing them back. Like they'll use their phone to take the picture, but it looks like they're taking it from that camera.
Well, and that's kind of where we're going to go on social media, is that it's all been kind of removed. So even if they use those cameras, then how do you put them onto the social media, which is utilized quite a bit now? So back when computers, the internet first came out, and you know, it's back when I was probably just out of college or barely in college when internet first hit the scene, and it became like this great thing. So I remember chat rooms being the big thing, as far as everybody wanted to run home, jump on the chat room, talk to their friends, talk to people they didn't know, discuss certain topics.
Were you on AOL or what?
Yeah,
AOL chat rooms.
MSN.
Yeah, MSN. And then I remember MySpace. And MySpace came out, and according to my research, came out in 2003. I honestly didn't know anything about MySpace till about 2006, 2007. And the only reason I knew about it is because when my father was ill in the hospital, your grandfather, some people were going back and forth on MySpace, and I didn't know what is MySpace, and that's how I found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook didn't come out to 2004, and I know Facebook, but obviously from the movie, right? And Victor can tell me if the movie's off or not, but Facebook came on the scene more in a college concept, but it didn't hit the mainstream till a couple years later.
Yeah.
I think it was like a way for colleges to interact with each other, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it originally was, if you go by the movie, of course, I don't know how they did it in real life, but it was just for Mark Zuckerberg and other dudes at Harvard to basically swipe right or swipe left on other girls that attended Harvard.
Oh, that's right.
So like kind of like a Tinder.
It was kind of like a Tinder.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple other ones that were before that my wife Liz said she remembers, in High Five, which I have no idea about.
I sent the link in the chat.
Okay. And also there was one called Photolog, which I do know it was kind of like an older version of Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram shows it hit the scene around 2010. Twitter, X now, is 2006, and then TikTok obviously 2016, and Snapchat 2011. The reason why I put these years out there is that, as you can see, most of social media started becoming a thing during those millennial years, and they started coming out. Obviously, there were Generation X's that were creating them, but as Deanna's teenage years started coming about, and then as Victor's teenage years, it started switching to different types. So my question here is, do the different age range that you guys are, do they use different social medias, or do you guys feel your generation still uses everything?
Let's start with Nana and Oscar.
Me personally, I feel like everyone in my generation still uses everything. And the reason for that is because like I got off Facebook for a while, and I recently got back on, and everyone that I went to high school still uses Facebook like normally, and they still use Instagram and Snapchat. So I think my generation honestly uses all social media still.
Do you think it's because you guys have been around for all of it?
I think so, because I remember MySpace, and then I went from MySpace to Facebook, and then Facebook to Snapchat, and then after Snapchat I actually got Instagram. No, I'm sorry. I did Instagram and then Snapchat, because I actually just went back and checked what day I started using Instagram, and I was about to graduate high school. So it was like my endings of high school. Yeah.
What do you guys think was the end of MySpace? What killed MySpace?
Facebook
For sure. Mm-hmm. Well, they started being more strict on MySpace, like about what you could do and what you were posting.
I think a lot of people like the simplicity of Facebook, because we're talking about the other day, you had to pick 5 friends to be your top 5, and then
that caused drama.
Put music and do all that in a background and
on MySpace.
Yeah.
Now, Vic, you didn't get to answer the question about the different age ranges.
Well, I had a question for Deanna. So what was the latest social media that you downloaded and made an account for? Was it TikTok?
Me?
Yeah.
Like recently?
Yeah.
Yes. No. Well,
you're not using like Threads or anything?
So I actually had Twitter back when I was in high school, and I got rid of it after. Like I never went back on. So my recent actually download is Twitter. Well, X.
Okay. Yeah. Colloquially, we still call it Twitter. I don't think anyone on the app calls it X for real.
But it's not the same anymore.
Wait a minute,
no, it's not. It's so many ads, dude. When
my Twitter back then used to be so different. Like maybe because I don't follow that many people, but like it's not the same. It's way more political. You see a lot of political, I guess. I don't really get into it too much because it just hasn't caught my attention.
Yeah, I get you. I think it's one of those things where you have to like cater your own feed, you know, like because personally, I also get very overwhelmed by all the political stuff because it's a lot and it's coming from different directions. So it's not like some stuff I only agree with. It's stuff that I also don't agree with. So what I do is I just, go through all that and I put not interested, and I make sure that everything that I don't want on my feed, I tell the app I'm not interested that way. It's more aligned with what I want. Like my Twitter right now is just comic book Twitter. All I get is comic book news.
I also feel like when I got back on Twitter though, like just recently, I feel like so old because I'm like, why don't I even want to try to see like what I can do to make it like interesting for me, you know?
Uh-huh.
So we had
that's the thing too I think about Twitter is that I don't think it's interesting for necessarily like other people. It's only for you, you know, because
Mhm.
you post on Instagram because you want people to see your pictures. You post on Facebook because you want them to be updated with your life. I don't think people post on Twitter for those reasons. People post on Twitter more like I want to put my thoughts out there and I don't care who sees them, you know?
Well, see, like back then when I used Twitter, it was just like you literally posted everything you did. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to get ice cream. Oh, just got to my friend's house. Oh, we just took a shot. You know,
Have you
like,
ever heard the phrase live tweet?
yeah,
Yeah, that's what people used to do. They used to live
yeah.
tweet everything.
And it's not like that anymore.
No, it's not.
So Victor, what is your answer? And I'll go back to the question again. Okay, do different age ranges use different social medias? What is your view on that?
It's kind of a mixed bag. I think most people my age use Facebook still, especially if they've moved away. I find that like everyone still reaches out through Messenger. Messenger is a big part of my generation because I guess we all grew up with it. It wasn't something that was added to our lives. We all grew up with Messenger and WhatsApp and Twitter. Like my generation, I think we're more like on Twitter and TikTok, like more than anything. They feed into each other. You can't go on Twitter and not see like something you would have seen on TikTok already like 3 days ago. And I feel like actually that's a big part about all the social medias right now, where if you go on Instagram and you see everyone like the reels that are posted, they're usually stuff that you could have seen on TikTok like 2 or 3 days earlier. But most people, because they are comfortable with whatever version of reels that they have on their apps, they don't know that it originally comes from like TikTok. Like for me, I don't use TikTok that often, but I use YouTube Shorts because I'm on YouTube. I was a YouTube kid growing up. So YouTube Shorts, they also act like how TikTok is and Reels are. You can like scroll for hours and you're basically getting what you would get on Reels or on TikTok.
Which is a problem we talked about last week on how the next generation is not able to sit through a 3-hour movie because they're watching. Yeah, the attention span. So, I mean, to go back to this topic, is for me, for instance, in my generation, it's kind of funny when I think about Facebook, because if I think about your grandmother,
yeah,
she's on Facebook all the time.
Yeah, how many profiles does she have though?
Yeah, she also has, and that's another thing about that generation. They usually have about 3 or 4 different profiles.
Yeah,
So, but they like Facebook.
Yeah.
Now, I used to be really, when Facebook came out, I thought I was addicted to it just like everybody else. As the years went along, I kind of felt more like, okay, I liked Snapchat, I liked Instagram. So I've tried them all besides Twitter. Mm-hmm. Twitter's the only one I haven't tried. And I talk to a lot of people my age, and none of them speak about Twitter.
Yeah.
So now for instance, I don't do Snapchat anymore. I stick to mainly Facebook, and the Facebook part of my daily routine is usually because I'm just scrolling through it, and if somebody posted something, a friend or family, something like that, but I really don't interact as much as I used to, which I do find that once again, when I talk to people my age and I ask them about this, they all said the same thing. Instagram is more popular now with celebrities. So my Instagram is full of just celebrities that I follow, and I like to see what's going on with them. It's my what they call chisme for and there's just gossip for people that don't know Spanish. But I just go through it for my celebrity chisme and listen and see what's going on, and big fan of The Rock still, so I still follow what The Rock says.
I think you're missing out on Twitter then, if that's what part of your Instagram is like. I think that's what Twitter is primarily known for. It's where everyone talks about like the most shit, and everything that happens online probably starts at Twitter if you think about it.
And see, now I use social media currently right now to put ads out on our podcast here, and I try to get it out there. But I also know that social media, and this is a topic we're going to get to later, let me try to rephrase this where it can come out correctly because I don't want people to get offended.
Okay.
I put it out there to publicize the podcast, knowing the fact that my own people are not going to support me. So when I put it out there, I actually put it out there for new friends that I'm making for the podcast. So for instance, on our Instagram page and our TikTok page, I'm seeing that we're getting more people liking the page that I have no idea who they are.
Exactly.
So that's how I'm publicizing it, but I'm not using Facebook because I feel Facebook is more of a family and close friends.
Facebook is definitely more intimate.
Yeah, and Instagram and TikTok I'm using because usually you can reach more people, especially TikTok. You can reach more people that you don't know. You know, I remember posting a video about Frankie. Frankie's a classic car I used to have. And I posted that video out when I sold it, and it got so many views of people I didn't know, and it was okay. So when I started publicizing the podcast, I started using TikTok to get more attention from it, and I feel like TikTok has the best chance for that. So we go back to Facebook is more intimate, like you said. Instagram, I find it for more celebrities. I don't know what you guys use it for. Oscar, do you use Instagram at all?
I don't have Instagram anymore. I had it at one point. I think that's the weird thing with my generation, at least, because I think we're in that weird middle where I didn't have my first social media account till I think I was 18 years old. And I kind of, sometimes I think about it, like I wish I had Facebook when I was younger, because I wish we could go back and look at all the pictures and videos and stuff. But then I also think about it, and I think that's the cool part of it, is that those are the memories that we have, you know?
Now, do you think it's because of your personality, or do you think your generation didn't really have it until they came along?
I think it might be my personality, or it might be a lot of people in my generation, because I feel like some people in my generation still grew up with the older guys, you know, because I was a 16-year-old kid working with 40-year-old men, 50-year-old men, you know, and I think that, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I do want to post stuff or I want to get on social media, but then I don't know, I just feel like enjoying the moment.
Yeah, and it's kind of sound like what Noe says the same thing when he talks about his older brothers and how he got into a lot of things because of his older brothers or older siblings. Sorry, Victor, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think as someone who doesn't post on like all these social medias, I only post on Twitter, and you guys aren't on Twitter. Deanna is now, but we don't follow each other, and I think that's for the best. Yeah, I don't post anything anywhere. Mostly, I think for the same reason that Oscar says, that I don't really care if any people that follow me since I was like 12, because that's when I started my Facebook and my Instagram, I guess. I don't care if they see what I'm doing in my day-to-day life today, or care what I think. What do you mean? Like, if they care?
No. What about your generation? You have a personality that's more of, like you just said, you don't care. You're you. But let's think about Generation Z. Do you think? How do you think they view social media as of right now?
So my friends are also the same way. I think they don't really post like, oh, went to the store today or went to the movies today, which I think is something more common with people who are a little bit older, who like to just let people know what they're doing. I think that social media is a good way for a lot of older people to check in with people that they haven't.
I feel like that's my generation.
Yeah, like it's for people to check in and let people know that, hey, I'm still around, I'm doing things. But for us, I don't know. I don't think we see it that way. We see it. We see the weird part of social media, which is that for the most part, it can either be used to make money or laugh.
But I think that's like what your dad said. I think it's the way you are, because you're the, what is it? Gen Z. Gen Z, but you're also like an old soul, bro. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought up the homies too, because I genuinely don't think people my age use Facebook the same way that you guys would have used them at our age back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when Deanna was in middle school, She would run home to jump on MSN Messenger and go back and forth. And then when text messages were coming out on the cell phones, I would tell her she could only use it after a certain time, or she could only do 30 a month, something like that. She never listened. But I do agree with you that I think my generation or a little bit older, you see them posting on Facebook more.
Yeah.
You know, and Instagram, like, I mean, you see people posting pictures, and, you know, like I said, I follow mostly celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Facebook, for older people, I think it's the simplicity of it also, because you don't have to do much, you know. In Snapchat, you change the filter, put a little emoji here or there. Facebook, all you got to do is swipe up, and then if you want to add something, just add post.
Yeah. Let's also like not forget that Facebook has basically become like the Fox News for your generation, Dad.
Yeah,
That's so true.
Like
You know, that's a great point.
All you guys, not all you guys, I don't want to generalize, right? But I mean, like most people who are like older and are on Facebook, they like, I work with a lot of people who are older than you even, Dad. And they'll come up to me at work and they'll be like, "Did you see this on Facebook? Like, this is what's going on Facebook. This is going on in Israel. I saw it on Facebook." Like, all right.
And then it also like depends on the city you're living in, because then you'll jump on if you're in Brownsville, the Brownsville Chismes. So you know what's happening on every street if there's an accident or there's something going on. And it's the same thing over here in Ohio. Like, I literally
we got to carry into Delaware here.
I tell Oscar, I'm like, I was on Facebook and I was seeing, like, you know, this person post of what's happening and they're wanting to know what happened here, because you're going to go to Facebook for the source of what's actually going on in your city instead of maybe looking it up.
I think it's great in that aspect. I also, like I was saying, is that I think in the grander like part of that, the people getting their news from one place or one source and it being Facebook is kind of pretty bad, but it's also really good in that very localized community aspect.
Yeah.
Yep. So
there's a lot of fake news too.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna go there. We talked about that last week. I'm stuck with the fake movie ads. We're gonna take a quick break, but before I do that, I do want to mention that I think that was a great point. The news, for instance, and anything going on in the world, I don't usually go to Instagram. I usually don't go to TikTok, because TikTok's a little bit later to get the news because people got to build their videos, right?
Sure.
Instagram is not there. When I do have something going on and I see my interest goes on, I go straight to Facebook, because Facebook posts, you know, CNN News or, you know, my beloved Detroit Lions. When I hear something going on, I go straight to their page, you know, and I see things. And I guess I never thought about it till you made that comment that that is used for news, and it's actually a really great tool to have to see what's going on in the world. We're going to take a quick break. Take this message from Ground Zero Jiu-Jitsu, who's having a grand opening this week. We'll be right back.
Ground Zero Jiu-Jitsu is located in Ed Couch, Texas. We invite you to check it out. They have amazing gi and no gi programs. They have the biggest square footage space in the RGV. The second floor is for MMA. Bottom floor split between kickboxing, boxing, and jiu-jitsu, plus full weight room. They are excited for the grand opening. Find them on Instagram and Facebook. Ground Zero Jiu-Jitsu.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks again for Ground Zero Jiu-Jitsu. So we were talking a little bit about social medias and how they started and how everybody acted over the ages, different ages, and how people started going away from them, coming back to them. What I noticed a lot on social media right now is that people use it incorrectly or correctly, depending on the person. So I may look at somebody using Facebook or Instagram and go, why are they putting that on there? But for Victor's generation or for a millennial, they may say that's what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go through a couple topics here, and I want to hear your guys' view on them. And you guys can get as far as information on it or give it, speak upon about it as much as you want. But it's 4 simple points here, and I want to see what you guys think. Okay.
Okay.
And this is across all social media, so this is just abroad. It's not just Facebook only. Okay.
Yeah. My bad.
No problem. So the first one is going to be posting everything every day. What I mean by that is today I went here, or I went here today, and I went to work and had a great day. And you know those people that like to post every single day.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? I want your perspective and your generation.
You want to go first, Vic, or
You can go first.
Well, I mean, I want to say because I used to be that person that like did post everything every day. Like if I had to prove a point of what I was doing, which I don't think I do anymore. Like I remember when I was going through, like, I guess an example, like my weight loss journey a couple years ago, like I felt like I had to show that I was at the gym because then I felt like everyone would think that like I wasn't doing anything.
You felt like everyone was holding you accountable?
Yeah, basically. Or like if I was posting it on social media to hold myself accountable, you know?
Like a form of therapy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now I don't do it as much. I mean, I do post, but I don't post everything, every step of my day. And I think that it was just me personally, I would just use it so people would know what I was doing. But now that I'm older, I'm just like, why did I do that so much? Or I would post my feelings and I'm like if I needed attention from somebody or somebody needed to give me that attention of, oh, I was having a bad day. Why were you having a bad day? Like, or something, you know?
So what about your generation though? How do you see them outside of you?
And it's the same thing. We all used to post, and I would see like everyone used to post something every day about what they're doing. But I feel like we've all just grown that we don't need to do that anymore. Like we don't really care for it. Like we kind of are on social media, but it's not to post or not to post our everyday routine.
When do you think that stopped? Because I can clearly see.
Well, I want to say maybe a couple of years ago, maybe like a year or two ago.
Okay.
For your generation or for you?
Me, I want to say like a year ago.
Okay, your generation about a year or two ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Oscar, yeah, what you think? The question again is, social media used incorrectly or correctly in your eyes about posting everything every day?
I think my generation, I think they use social media a lot they use it to tell how a person's life is, right? So I think my generation is the one that was always the one posting the new trucks and posting the brand new job and doing all this, right? Because that's the way everybody looked at it, right? When I was working in the oil field, I would see people that I hadn't talked to in years, but I had them on Facebook and they go, "Oh man, you're making good money," right? Because that's why I would post. I would post for that same reason, so people could see that I was doing well, you know. And for some reason, I did that for a long time until I started realizing that I didn't care what people wanted. It's like I didn't care if they saw or not, you know, because I mean, no one's there when you're not doing well, you know. You don't post something.
Yeah.
But I think that's what I think has tricked everybody. I don't know if it's just for me or everyone in my generation, but like you go from your everyday posting what you're doing and then you go and you just stop. So everyone's wondering. So when I got off Facebook, I bet I'm thinking, I bet everyone's wondering like, where's Deanna, right? Like what's going on? But I literally got away from Facebook just because I felt like it was honestly depressing. That's my personal opinion. So if you think about it, like, you know, a lot of people like that have matured, like now you're like, oh, some people be like, oh, wonder what that person's doing, or, you know, where they're at right now. But you don't know because they're not posting as much anymore.
I think I stopped using social media not to live my life in secrecy, but to live my life in private. You know, I mean, I share my goods with the people that actually care about it. Because I mean, I always say the same thing. And when it's your birthday, everybody messages you and sends you happy birthdays and oh my God, you're such a great friend and you're such a beautiful person and this and that. But
because they have the reminder.
Exactly. If we didn't have
Yes.
no reminder, no one would know it was your birthday except for your family.
Yeah, and just to go on that real quick, Vic, before you tell your point is, I get messages to me a week after my birthday, and they go, "How come you didn't? I didn't know it was your birthday. I didn't see it on Facebook." And there's a reason. I don't publicize my birthday on Facebook, and this is my philosophy as far as my being my age or maybe an older soul generation in me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that if you have to tell somebody happy birthday because you got reminded off a social media app is the type of happy birthday that you want.
Yep.
Exactly.
So I get very little happy birthdays. Very little.
Can I jump on this real quick before we move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that it's even to the point where, Dad, people mix up me and you all the time on Facebook. They don't know which of ours is our real birthday. You know what I mean? They'll post on my Facebook wall, because I'll see sometimes whenever I go on Facebook to see, like, I don't know what people have tagged me in. For the past 5 years since I stopped using Facebook, it's only happy birthdays. But lately, I guess since my dad's not using his Facebook that much and I'm not using my Facebook, when people type in Vic Mendez or they get that notification, Vic Mendez's birthday is today, they go to the app and then they search up whichever Vic Mendez pops up first. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's my dad if they have us as friends, and they post on there, "Happy birthday, Vic," and it'll be my dad's wall, and they're posting for me, or they're posting for my dad on my wall. It's so disingenuous that it's not even like we were just talking about it. Like, people only send you happy birthday because they get that notification, and that is the perfect example of it, I would say.
You see, and I don't mean to be rude either about it, because I'll see that it's people's birthdays that I have on social media, but I think it's very rare that you'll actually see my name on their profile, because if I didn't remember outside of social media, then I don't think I should be, really saying happy birthday. Like, I don't know you that well.
Yeah.
And that's not to be rude, it's just to be honest.
Well, it's because, let's be honest here, who are the happy birthdays for? They're not for the person that you're saying happy birthday to. They're for everyone can see that you're saying happy birthday to this person, that you care.
Yeah, it's like when people donate and they record themselves donating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who are you donating for?
And that's a real good point, because and we didn't hit on that, is that a lot of social media is done for other people can see what you're doing.
It's performative.
Exactly. And Vic, I don't know if you had anything on that part, or I go on to the next question. Post everything every day?
I think there's a time and place for it, right? And I think in the perfect society that people were thinking about when they thought social media is like the biggest thing, and it's going to be the biggest thing in the future, I'm sure this is what Mark Zuckerberg also thinks with the whole meta shit, is that in the perfect world, we would know exactly what everyone is doing and how they feel about this, what they did today. But like, as the years have gone on, I think we've all realized, well, most of us have realized that this is not the future we want.
No.
Yep.
We don't want to know that this dude went to the club 3 nights in a row. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to know that we don't need to know that your house just got foreclosed and you're having a terrible time. I know it sucks, but dude, there's people in your life that you need to talk to about that, and people who should care about you like that aren't gonna reach out because they saw you on Facebook talking about it.
But I think that's where we go back to, is like the attention, like that they're needing, or they're feeling like they want from everybody. Because there was just a person on my social media that I told Oscar about the other day that I'm so close to removing. And it's, again, not to be rude, but it just, the way they go about their post.
Well, before you go off on that, let me, because it's going to go to the next
Okay.
question.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine, because that gives me an entry to this, because you're going to be the first up here. Posting your feelings.
Oh my goodness, I'm so over it.
So it kind of sounded like you were going to that. That's why I said.
Yeah, no, I was. So I feel like that person makes their life more depressing than it really is. And she does it for attention. And then me and Oscar talk about it. It's like, but that those friends are hyping that person up about that post.
But it's
Yeah.
they do it for that. It's like a girl with a six pack in a small bikini, and then she posts a photo and says, "Oh my God, I look so fat."
Mm-hmm.
One, you know you don't look fat, but you're waiting for
They're fishing.
yeah, you're waiting for the 10 guys that are gonna jump on there and be like, "Hey, mommy, you look great," or "Hey, beautiful, you look." You know?
Yeah, or
Mhm.
just like, oh, I have no one to hang out with, and then
Everyone's like, "Oh, pull up."
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But you're in a relationship, and you know that that's not correctly the way to do it because guys are gonna obviously jump on your stuff. I just think that people post their feelings in ways that they probably shouldn't. They should just keep to themselves because it could honestly go into a wrong direction. But those same people that are posting their feelings, when a guy does jump into their DMs, they're the first ones to screenshot it and post it and put it out for everyone to see. Oh, this guy was in my DMs because of this and this and that. Well, obviously you were asking for that attention.
The fair to be super fair, it's not like it's a lot like when a girl or like a dude wears something super revealing in public, they're not asking for people to hit them up like that.
Yeah.
They feel comfortable in themselves and what they have to say, or how they look, that they can go outside like that. So I don't know. I feel like if people are posting like, I'm lonely or whatever, it's different. It's always going to be on a case-to-case basis, but that doesn't give guys the rights or like girls the right to like slide in and be like super weird about it. You know what I mean?
That's some people are just weird like that. People are looking for that angle just to pounce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that are waiting for girls waiting for that day. Like, I'm single. Boom. 2 seconds later, they're in the messages.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, I mean, my feelings are very transparent on that. That's probably why I don't post anymore on Facebook. And usually when I see those type of posts on social media, I just kind of scroll by them.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't care about that person's feeling. It's not that I don't care about what's going on in their lives, but they're posting it and they're getting all this love on Facebook that they obviously need. They don't need me to be part of that. If I feel like somebody needs me, I'll pick up the phone.
Yeah, and as far as like posting feelings on social media, I think there's to go back to, I think one of the original points of this like little segment was, well, where do you do that, right? Where do you post your feelings? I think people don't. A lot of people do post their feelings on Facebook, of course, but primarily Twitter. I have a Twitter account, and it's a private Twitter account. So when I post things like that are my thoughts, it's just to like 30 people that like I know and are like aware of my situation, and like I don't know, they're not there to comment, or I'm not looking for them to comment. I just need to say something because there's things in my life that I can't say to people that I know and I love.
But I think that Twitter is a great source for that, though.
Yeah,
that's my opinion, because I feel when I had Twitter, I obviously had my people that I had on there, but like that was just like you're just typing and you're posting, not necessarily looking for that attention or
just yapping.
You're just venting. And
but are we talking about feelings in general, or are we talking about bad feelings, good feelings?
In general.
Could be both, yeah.
Yeah, I think, but it's a good question, Oscar, because for instance,
because like we got married, and I wanted everybody to know that we got married.
Yeah, yeah, but I now that you mentioned that, I think I'm talking more about bad feelings here, because good feelings is
like drama.
Yeah, because I think good feelings is what social media was originally supposed to, in the mindset, was supposed to be used for, to share. So, for instance, when me and Liz post pictures and of what's going on here, or what's going on with Thiago, what's going on with you guys, mostly with Thiago, because we want you guys to see it, we want her family to see it, So those good feelings, it was originally, I think, with the idea behind social media.
Uh-huh.
So then,
people utilize.
We're talking about drama then, because even if they're bad feelings, like if someone truly needs someone to talk to and they don't post it every day, but someone never posts and they put, "Hey, I would really love someone to talk to right now." I mean, that's what it's used for, right?
Yeah, which is okay. I guess it's just like we go back to, are you using it incorrectly
Yep.
or correctly?
Mhm.
Right?
If
Like,
it's
are
like-
you posting your feelings in a way you need help, or are you just doing it just to post?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Because
to take it a step farther, are you depending too much on the reaction of your social media fan base?
Mhm. So
I like
So-
that.
that's
I
what
like
I'm-
that a lot,
so
actually.
That's what
Let
I'm
me-
saying. So we're talking about drama,
mhm.
like people, the drama that people make on social media. That we're talking about when people are like, "Oh my God, I hate my baby daddy," kind of stuff.
And then they're there with their baby daddy 2 days later.
Yes, exactly.
Victor, you were going to say something?
I was gonna say that like when like for example when I post on like Twitter, I know damn well no one's gonna like it and no one's gonna share it because that's not that's not how people work on Twitter.
Mhm.
But
We
that's how
don't.
you know those are genuine feelings, though.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too is that do you guys know what like this is gonna get really fringe, but I think because we're talking about social media, we should talk about it. Do you guys know what like being a black pilled is?
No.
No.
So there's people who in their real lives do not have anyone to talk to, do not have anything going for them, right? And so they go onto like Facebook or they go onto Twitter, the popular social medias, and let's say that they have very fringe opinions that you, for the most part, they deserve not to be interacted with. So they move on. They don't go to Facebook and they don't go to Twitter. They don't go to Instagram. They might go to Reddit, which is like, what more like what I mean, us nerds use. Like I use it for like computer parts and comics and stuff like that. But there's other sub communities in there that people can find people that kind of feel the way that they feel. But those people can't find those people. So then they just become what we call black pilled. They're ostracized by all the communities because they probably did something themselves or they didn't interact the right way. And they're just radically online and do not see anything good for themselves in person, in real life, or online. And they're just the worst types of people. That's what someone who's black pilled is, and that is something that is happening more and more every day because I think because of what social media has brought us to. These people are people like how we're sitting here and we're like, oh yeah, it's a little annoying when someone posts their drama on Twitter, but these people hate it. These people are there and they think it's the bane of existences, and that's all they think about because they have nothing going on in their real lives, and they're chronically online like this, and it affects them like that. And then those people end up writing like on there's a very fringe internet subculture called 4chan where people can post anonymously and not have anything traced back to them, and they do that. And they in the past like 5 years, being a kid who grew up on the internet, we see all these manifestos from these people who do terrible things, and they all pop up on these places on the internet. That's one thing too I hope that we end up talking to about on this topic today is that I've grown up on the internet. I know which way to go. I know who not to follow and who like ideas align with mine. But there's so many people who are in that fringe, and it's honestly a little scary. As someone who has a little brother who's 7 years old, I'm always telling my dad, you need to watch what he's watching because there's a lot of people who think they know what it means to be a man and are going to tell little kids who probably have mixed father figures that this is what a man is, and they're going to start looking at their own lives and be unhappy with it. And
I think the scary part about that for sure is like I'm one of those people. I mean, right now you mentioned a couple, right? Reddit and a couple 4chan, and before you saying it a couple seconds ago, I had never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So even if I looked at it, like let's say my daughter opened it, and if I looked at it, I'd just throw it to the side because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah. There's a lot of I think that comes with not only just having kids, but being a little bit aware of what the internet is capable of, especially if you're going to use it, because you need to know where your words are going to land and where they're going to be recepted and how they're going to be recepted by different types of people.
And we're going to take a second break, but Victor, let's put a pin on that topic and come in on the next after the break and start off with that, because I think that's a very good and interesting topic to get into as far as the usage and being careful and who's out there. Because one of the reasons why I wanted to do a podcast was because sometimes I'm one of those old guys that goes on the internet and goes on Facebook and says, "Oh God, I mean, why they posting? Why they posting? Why they posting?" And I didn't want to go on Facebook and say I can't stand when people post this on Facebook because I'm falling right into the cycle.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like your dad just called me old too.
but what you were saying, Victor, you know, about the media, social media, and you know all these different things, and yeah, you're right. We do got to be careful, and I'm always looking. That's why I always call you or ask you and say, "Hey, who's this person that Thiago's listening to, and who's this person, or who's that?"
Mhm.
Because I mean, I didn't grow up on the internet, and
Yeah.
part of Deanna and Oscar didn't grow up on the internet.
Yeah.
You know, you're the only generation that can say honestly, since the day you were born, there has
been
been
access
to the internet and to the what's on the internet. And we're not just talking about social media. I mean, there's YouTube,
Mhm.
there's everything out there.
There's
Reddit,
everything. I mean, even I'm barely starting to get into all the business side of what a computer can do. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Excel spreadsheets. It's like gibberish to me right now.
We're going to take a second break from our sponsors, Virtus Sports Gear. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hi, everyone. We are Virtus Apparel. At Virtus, we believe that fashion is more than just clothing, it's a form of self-expression. That's why we offer a wide range of stylish and comfortable outfits designed to fit seamlessly into your lifestyle. From casual wear to athletic attire, Virtus has you covered. Our collections are crafted with quality materials and attention to detail, ensuring that you look and feel your best in every situation. So whether you're heading to the gym, meeting friends for brunch, or simply relaxing at home, choose Virtus to elevate your look and embrace your individuality. Visit our website at www.virtusapparel.shop. And now, back to you, Victor. Thank you for choosing Virtus.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks again for Virtus Sports Gear. Like I do in every podcast, I do want to say thank you again to Detroit Lou for your music. Deanna, you remember Lewis when you were little?
Yes, I do.
You used to call him Lulu, and now he's a great producer out of Detroit and made that beautiful music for us.
Thank you.
So,
Lou.
So I wanted to pivot over to Victor here because he brought up a great topic, and I want to see his perspective and how he puts it. For me, Deanna and Oscar can then put our input off of Victor's comment here. Sorry. So Victor, can you go ahead?
Yeah. So to talk about this on more of a broader, like in a more broader way, I need to ask you guys some questions, right? Do you guys know what QAnon was or is?
No.
Okay, so earlier we were talking about how people like my age can be really prone to be caught up in fringe little internet like sub communities where they are just angry at everything, like incels. Do you guys know what incels are?
Nope.
No.
Incels are guys who are involuntarily celibate. They feel that women should give them sex, and because they haven't been given sex, they are so misogynistic and so radicalized in what they think. They're like the worst types of people. They believe in like traditional normalities in American culture, like that women shouldn't work and all this because of the way they think. Those are incels. That's like a fringe internet community that pretty much only popped up because of like things like social media.
Wow.
And then you've got like QAnon people, right? And QAnon people is where it hits a broader spectrum. Even the old, like, there's a documentary on HBO Max that's about QAnon. So I'm be grabbing a lot from that. If I remember the name, I will say it. Don't worry. But so basically, QAnon was this phenomena that occurred while Trump was president, where Trump would post something on Twitter, and then thousands of people on 4chan, which is that like little message board I was telling you guys about earlier, they would just they would dissect everything he said into cryptic codes, and Trump would just post like having a burger in the White House today, and then they would be like, "Oh, we're sending missiles to Iran."
Oh my God, is that why the riot started or what?
Dude, so the Capitol riots on January 6th, they're QAnon led because these guys were online for the past fucking 4 years dissecting everything that Trump said. They were like, all right, he wants us to go to the Capitol. He wants us to do this. That's why the January 6th things happen. But also, have you guys ever heard of QAnon?
No.
No.
Imagine that someone who's I wouldn't say I'm chronically online, but I grew up online. I know what's going on online, and I think most people my age do too. We know that the big world events that are happening, they start in these weird fringe places, like the January 6th insurrection. That's insane. People marched into the White House grounds and they got inside. People were hurt. People were I think someone died. Like that all started online on social media with QAnon, and it's because these radical ideas, they can just grab attention. There's old people here in Ohio that will instantly believe that someone like Biden is a vampire that eats babies. You know what I mean? Because someone online told them, and they have some sort of empirical evidence because they dissected Trump's tweets from 2016. Imagine that.
So
right?
let me ask you a question.
Imagine there's kids who are thinking that. Imagine there's also people who are in their 60s and above who I'm sorry, this is a very like controversial and unpopular opinion, but people above a certain age also regress down to the susceptibility and like being able to I don't know, be a sponge to information. You know what I mean? Like if you're old, you're gonna watch the news and you're gonna believe everything the news is telling you because you're like, it's the fucking news.
So you mentioned earlier why you worry about your little brother. So what? Touch on that a little, as far as a 7-year-old right now, and why you worry.
I think it's really easy for people of bad faith to post on kids' YouTube and in areas where kids can watch things on YouTube and post some heinous things. There's this thing that popped up in 2016 when I was a teenager that was really big on YouTube. And if we have any younger listeners here, they'll know what I'm talking about. Is these channels where people put on costumes like Princess Peach from Mario or fucking Spider-Man or Captain America, and they're doing nothing but garbage for 10 minutes straight. It's just high-pitched voices, and they're just like, I don't know, putting slime on people for like an hour or something. And it's weird. It's literally goop for kids. Like kids would enjoy it. But the older you get, and like, you know, around Thiago's age, they found that in some of these videos they put really subliminal messages that are just weird. Kind of like Nana, you guys watch Quiet on Set. There's a lot of subliminal shit on the set
bring that up.
On the set of Nickelodeon that like you look at now and you're like, what the fuck were these kids allowed to watch?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It scares me also having Miranda. You know, like I want to post pictures. I want to post pictures of her and stuff like that, but who knows how far her picture can go? You know, some weirdo somewhere could screenshot it and print out my daughter's picture.
Yeah, but it's just like an example that something that had happened while we had her. You know, she's on YouTube Kids, which, you know, she's using the shorts, I guess that's what it's called, which is like TikTok.
Yep.
And she's scrolling and she's just going, but this is supposed to be for kids. And then you hear some thing talking about making out or something about sex, and you're like, and she doesn't know, but she just scrolls up because she knows it's not for her. But other kids that are not,
they're curious.
You know, the kids that are curious, they're gonna listen to it and be like, oh, what is sex at 8 years old? Like, no, you're not supposed to know what that is.
How many 8-year-olds, I mean, even mine are twerking
that, or that that video came across, you know, you're supposed to be on YouTube Kids, and this weird video came across your YouTube Kids shorts. It just doesn't make any sense. They find a way to put it in there.
Yeah, and that's what you know, you asked me earlier, Dad, why I what I'm primarily like focused on when I like tell you these things about like looking out for what Thiago's on like online presence is like. It's because it's so easy for people to infiltrate a kid's space online. You know, you can put up all these boundaries like in real life. No one's going to come randomly into your house. No one's going to come randomly into your kid's school. No one's going to come at Thiago while he's at jiu-jitsu. But when he's online on the tablet, there's so many little 5-second videos, because that's what they are. They're 5-second videos, little clips that can just when you think he's safe, just suddenly there's building blocks being set by 5-minute clips, 5-minute clips, 5-minute clips here, and it builds a subconscious for like kids, and that's why like when the Andrew Tate thing was going on, there's a lot of like people who are trying to tell people what it means to be a man in the world, like, oh, you need to treat women like this, you need to do this, you need to invest in crypto. So many people my age that didn't have dads just fucking went to that full force and became crypto assholes that just like don't disrespect women or in that little manosphere space. And as someone who has like a little brother, it's so fucking scary to think that anyone can just get into his little headspace and like ruin his perspective of what the world is.
And unfortunately, I don't think there's anything like you said. I mean, there's not much we can do except sit down with them and have a conversation.
I think also being aware is a big part of it.
Yeah, because I mean, you can tell people like it's like how sometimes people say like, "Oh, I'm never gonna let my daughter go date." Well, she's gonna sneak out the window. I mean, it's either you know about it or you don't.
Yeah.
So in this podcast, we've created a tagline without knowingly creating a tagline, and I'm going to use it here. I think this is a whole nother podcast as well.
I was literally thinking the same thing, Dad. I was like, this is just totally going to be like, we need to do another one, part 2.
Yeah. This is usually when Noe comes in and says, yeah, we can do a whole podcast on this. And it's a really important topic. And I I really do think that it can go generational as well, because everybody wants to seem to think that, okay, the older generation is either one, unaware because they don't want to look into it, or two, they become too strict on it. So then you go to a generation where you millennials are known as for being weird, and you guys are hitting an age range where you guys are starting to mature.
Yeah.
So your weirdness is going away. Noe mentioned on a podcast last week about how he's looking at different things. Oh no, I think it was the first week, how he looked at the Joker one way and then he got ordered another way, because it's because of matureness. Your guys' generation of weirdness starts to get a little mature, and you start thinking like, what the hell was I thinking?
It depends on how people were raised too, or how they grew up.
And then Victor comes in now at his age now, and he says, hey, you guys better start watching out for some of the stuff, because me, who I grew up on the internet, I can see it, but you guys may not be able to. I sit there and try to monitor 100%, but I can't, like you said.
It's actually kind of crazy that, like, when I was talking to you guys now, and like I asked if you guys knew like what an incel was, or like what QAnon was, like, it's kind of crazy because everyone online knows about these people and who to stay away from to get like out of that rabbit hole, because it's a rabbit hole for real. Those old people, they're not just like deciding one day that they're gonna start believing this cryptic zodiac level type shit. It's a huge rabbit hole that starts out very like believable, and it hits at their insecurities of how they feel about the world, and then like it's like Scientology, it slowly just eats at you until you get to the point where like you see that there's no return. Your beliefs are just so in line with this that you can't see yourself not engaging with it.
I think it's just complacency too. Like, I feel like I have to start really looking into a lot of stuff, because even up to a couple of weeks ago, we're having conversations about politics and this and that, and I still think like the old me, where it's like, well, I don't care who's the president because I still have a bill due on the 1st.
Yeah,
I mean, and I can't think like that. I got to start looking into what's going on everywhere. I have Joel, which is what, 26, 27. He comes in and he'll talk in about what's going on over there in Israel and what's going on all over the place, and I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, we can. And when we hit that topic again, Oscar, we hit that on the first podcast, we'll definitely bring you back in. But that's something that we've noticed, that is that when you get older, you start thinking like the stuff from back in the day. When you were 27, when you were 25, or even 21, wasn't as important. But you're starting to hit a maturity now. And you start thinking like this stuff.
I was 21, sir.
I was like 12 years ago, dude.
We're gonna switch gears a little bit right now, because, like I said, that could be a very good podcast for us to bring up again. The next subject I want to go to is the introduction of stories to social media.
Mhm.
Do you think it restarted the hype on social media, or was just an addition?
And by stories, tell the audience what you mean by that, Dad.
So, I believe it was Snapchat that started the stories first, where you put a story in, and 24 hours later, it disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's
Snapchat
not
did
say,
to be sneaky though.
it was originally, and I mean, I think not originally. I think it became sneaky because of people like who Victor just talked about.
Yeah.
They found a loophole to use it. So then, Facebook took on stories, Instagram took on stories, TikTok even has stories now, and so all these things are 24 hours later, races from social media, and I feel like it's became more of a. I don't know what Twitter does because unfortunately I'm not on Twitter. Victor got me interested after this podcast.
Uh-huh.
But
they don't really have like a stories or like a reels kind of thing on Twitter.
so to go to stories, I feel like when the stories hit, I think it became like a recharge for social media. If you guys notice, as my kids, you guys notice I post more stories than I do actual posts.
Mhm.
Yeah, same here.
So do you guys think it restarted the hype of social media, or do you just think it was an addition? It didn't need any hype. It was doing fine and just an addition to a good model.
I think that it actually, so since it started on Snapchat and Instagram was just like for you to do your posts and you did your caption with your post. But then when it started adding stories, I feel like it did rehype it. And I think it's the same thing with Facebook. I think Facebook's the fact that they added stories like did rehype the whole social media platform.
And just to give some people some credit, I feel like in the movie The Intern, I think they came up with the whole Snapchat idea. I don't think they get enough credit for that.
The internship of Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, because they kept saying something you can post at that moment, and it's called Instagram. No, we're talking about right there. And to me, that was Snapchat. I thought that was Snapchat. They were kind of telling us ahead of time Snapchat was coming.
I remember that movie. That was a good one. It was a really good like Silicon Valley type movie where you watch it then and then like 10 years later you see what the fuck ended up happening, what kind of jokes they were making.
Exactly.
Is that the movie when they're working for Google?
Yeah. When they get the internship
Okay.
for Google because they used to be they used to be watch salesmen.
Oh yeah, I remember because I was like, man, that's so cool. I want to work for Google.
That guy with the crooked nose, what's his name?
Owen Wilson.
Oh, listen. So, I mean, Victor, what's your thoughts on that?
So, Snapchat kind of came into the scene with the stories thing, and it took a while for a lot of other websites to adapt and see that, Snapchat, that's all they have, right? The stories. I think you can also see it's kind of poetic in a way because Snapchat kind of like reinvigorated a lot of the model for all these businesses and like apps and social medias because they introduced stories and it became very popular. People were using it. I remember when the most famous thing was DJ Khaled's Snapchat stories. Like if you followed him, that one time he got lost on his jet ski, it was insane. Everyone was like tuned in because you were just watching this dude get lost on his jet ski for a whole day.
I'm sure there's people out there flying trying to save him.
Yeah, it was basically the appeal of live tweeting, but with pictures and video, and it was cool. And I think Snapchat, got its popularity, and then it plateaued for a while, and it took a while for Mark Zuckerberg or the people at Twitter to no, not even at Twitter, but just at YouTube and TikTok. Because what ended up, you can see a clear line between Snapchat and how it leads to like TikTok, the short format like storytelling that people are just addicted to now. You post on Snapchat like a 10 second clip of you doing whatever, and then that can easily lead to like TikTok. But when you think about it, when Facebook introduced its story feature, people were using it to the max. It became an addition to the website. Snapchat can't add like posts like how you can on Facebook, where you post like just words.
See, and I feel like Facebook,
video.
I feel like Facebook stories didn't hit as hard as Instagram stories.
No, but they were just a great feature, like you're not on Facebook so you can see Facebook stories. You're on Facebook so you can see all what Facebook has to offer.
Oh yeah, but see, I think Instagram, back like what Dad said, is
Instagram did it better.
Yeah, even better than Snapchat, because
Yes.
Snapchat, you just barely started adding music to it and that.
Mhm.
Yeah, you had your filters and you can add comments to your post, but like it's just way different on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. And I would say too, that Snapchat has the filters down for its like pictures that you can take and post and videos. Instagram doesn't have that so much, but they also have a very good implemented like music selection thing. You can do it on Snapchat too, but it's not as like, I don't know, easy as it is on Instagram. And that even goes straight to like TikTok, where it's exactly that.
Mm-hmm. See, now I feel my generation, and this is I want to hit back on the generation question here. I feel like my generation, it did reignite because I see people my age range using stories all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I see more stories than I see actual posts.
Yep.
We go back to what we said earlier in the podcast, is that Facebook is for the news, and that's what I do use it for. And if I do see stories, it's because that's I rather see stories. And if I use Instagram, I want to see what's going on with celebrities. So I use the different types of social medias to help me where I want it to help me.
And see, I use TikTok for that.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to know what's going on with a celebrity, not to bring it up, but I'm going to, like the whole Diddy situation, I was on TikTok not like all day, but like, I was using that as trying to figure out what happened with that situation. Like, why did it, like, what was actually happening? Like the whole raid, everything. And even with like other celebrities, I use TikTok to see what everyone else is posting.
Mm-hmm.
I think a really good point to bring up after I went on that whole rant about like, how you can accidentally fall down like rabbit holes and shit. I think it's also really important that you trust your sources. And so like you could watch a lot of things on Facebook and on TikTok that are news related, and they, if you trust that news source, then yeah, it could be good information that you're receiving. I think the point earlier was just it's very easy for people to fall into what you would say is fake news.
Yeah.
I mean, AI is crazy.
And, and to go back to the stories of why I mean, I like posting things that I want you guys to see.
Yeah.
People I love to see. But people will start overutilizing stories when you start seeing everything they cooked, or what socks they put on today, and you get a lot of those as well. Yeah, and that's when it becomes a little bit of scroll right past it for me, But that's just me, and I think it's because I'm older now. I've hit a maturity level that it's kind of like, I don't want to see your socks. I don't want to see your food today. But I know there's a lot of people that do. So to go to the original question, do I think
I'm gonna stop sending you my food pictures now?
Well, you can send it to Liz because she likes it. So
I know.
To the original question, did I think the stories help social media out? For my generation, the answer is yes. Oscar and Deanna, what do you guys think? Just yes or no answer question there.
Yes.
I feel like yeah.
Okay, Victor. Your generation, not you.
Yeah. I think I genuinely think that the implementation of like stories onto other social media apps also, push the whole thing forward. We're going to talk in a second of where the ceiling is going to be, and I think the ceiling is kind of, we've been reaching for that ceiling, and the implementation of stories is how we've been reaching to that ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, Vic, I think you went ahead and segued us into this next part. Did you want to go ahead and take it from there?
Oh, that was the point of the segue for you guys to pick it up.
I'm trying
the hitting the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
So the next question was to get off the stories, or where it's actually part of the next part, is that do you see social media ever hitting a ceiling?
So when you say ceiling, you mean like as in only you can do so much with it, or to where a point where people are going to be like, all right, I'm done with social media. I hope they just delete it.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to get to a point where when I say ceiling, that it can't go any farther. It's hit the point of, it can't do nothing else for us.
That's kind of like,
I don't know.
It's because I thought the stories was the end of it, and then they started the reels on Instagram, and then I thought TikTok was gonna stop, and then they started with their stories. So I feel like they always come up with something more.
I honestly hope that all social media gets erased or banned. Everything.
Because of mine is because I feel like some people just use it in the wrong ways, like bullying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Oscar was born in the wrong generation.
Yeah, I know, honestly,
Yeah.
because I would remember like us when we would like.
Didn't you guys meet on Instagram?
We did.
Whoa,
We did. No, we did. I mean, I guess that's. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's great things that happen with social media, and there's terrible things that happen with social media. But
It's
I
just
don't
like
know,
life.
like-
It can go bad or it can go good.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but before that's all you said was, life is good or life is bad, and now it's or life is good because of social media, life is bad because of social media.
I don't think that it's hit a ceiling. I do think that they have, more room to add more things to it to make it more interesting for people to stay on it. That's my opinion.
Victor?
I agree. I mean, what's the thing that Mark Zuckerberg wants to do is the metaverse, right? It's where we're all in this like I think we talked about it in the car a little bit yesterday, Deanna and Oscar, where it's like everything is like AR and you can like see everything, augmented reality, and you can see
So like Player
basically-
One, like the movie.
yeah, like Ready Player One, essentially. That is what the like ceiling would be for me, right? And that's because I'm like a science fiction nerd. I've been watching these things and reading these things since I was a kid that have told me like this is what peak like science fiction is like, and it's usually like somewhere along the lines of Ready Player One, where everyone's just in tune with everything at once. And
And
I think-
do you hope that happens when they
fuck no. I want to live in a forest with a cabin, man.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying though. Like I think like that's coming back. Like I feel
Yeah.
like all that stuff's coming back. Even like earlier we saw a van with solar panels on the side, and
Uh-huh.
I asked Deanna, like, would you ever live in a van? And she said no. You
I
know?
would.
But I feel like that's all coming back. Like I feel like people are starting to enjoy life again without social media.
To be completely honest, if because I've grown up in this era, right? It feels like everyone who was alive before social media like became a thing, and that they had lives before social media became a thing. This whole era has just been like a weird distraction. A very, very weird distraction because there's so many people whose lives are intertwined with social media, and like I mean, we're doing this podcast, and I can tell you we do it because we just like it. We like this thing, but there's people who are out there that are just like, this is going to be the breadwinner. And there's people who are we on the first episode I talked to Dad about what drop shippers are, and that's social media is a big part of what makes drop shippers like the most money. It's so much of our lives are intertwined with social media. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not ours individually. But it's I don't know. It's weird to see where it's gonna go, and I feel like everyone's just been on a big distraction for the past 30 years.
We do it because we like it, Vic. But I mean, if we become millionaires, hey,
No one's
Yeah.
complaining.
Right.
But like then you think about it too. Another, I guess, topic would be that you grew up on the social media of all platforms, right?
Mhm.
And do you feel like that stopped you from actually being like in the outside? Like me, I remember growing up and actually being outside.
I feel like the outside world stopped me from being outside.
You gotta remember, your brother's a different soul.
Like, if we
No, but what I mean is that like there's a lot of dangers in the world growing up in the past like 20 years.
Yeah.
I never went to school and never thought like I never went to school and knew I was going to be safe. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's a perfect example. Today in the morning, we went to Walmart, and there was I'd say a 65-year-old man. He was pushing in his wife in a wheelchair, and he had a gun on his side, and he had a bulletproof vest under his shirt.
That's what I'm saying, dude, is that I've been alive for the past 24, 23 years. I've never had a moment where I was in school and I wasn't sure that it wasn't going to get shot up.
Yeah.
I have not been in the adult world and not been sure that a fucking pandemic is not going to happen.
I guess
You
that's
know-
another good podcast topic.
There you go. You hit the key word.
But
And-
you guys get what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I do.
And so,
I
like,
don't want to throw us off subject either, but it's
So-
ideas.
What I'm trying to say is that maybe a lot of people in my generation are in tune with the online culture, and it's a part of their lives, but it's probably honestly because everything outside is so fucking depressing and so dangerous for us. Like we're recording this at the time, and there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and it's insane, and we don't know what's gonna happen. We never know.
The pandemic showed a lot of people that you could be inside.
Yeah.
You could.
Oh, and you can be inside.
Yeah, because a lot of people always just say like, "Oh man, I can't be home all the time." No, well, everybody learned that you can be at home.
And
It's like you actually.
I went through my a little bit of I don't want to say the word depression, but because I was used to always being outside.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're kind of going into our own version of a rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And honestly, like Deanna said, this is a really, really good topic to get into. And I just wanted to touch one quick. We got one more topic before we close this out, and as always, we went a little bit over.
Yeah.
So to close out what Victor was saying about how things, the older version and then the new generation coming in and being a little more kind of like the old generation was.
Yeah.
So when I was doing this research and looking up things I wanted to do and doing the research on my closing today, me and Liz got into a discussion about how, back in our day, well, she's a little younger than me, but back in our day, we used to pass the notes around and would do the own version of surveys, which I mentioned in the opening.
Uh-huh.
And, it'd be like, what's your name? What do you like? What's your last name? Where'd you grow up? And it was just a questionnaire.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, well, they did that on Facebook.
I did that.
Yeah, they did it on Facebook as well. Mm-hmm. They did it, So then I started thinking, I say, hey, a lot of the things that we used to do back in my generation is just amplified with social media.
Mm-hmm.
So when I asked the question, do you feel it's ever going to hit a ceiling? My answer would be no, because they're just going to amplify it by something else. So everything that Deanna used to do is going to be utilized for the next generation in a different way, utilizing social media. So I don't ever feel like it's going to hit a ceiling. So I think that's something that you have to be ready for, to go back to Victor's other point of we got to be ready for the next generation. And that's going to take me to our last point of the podcast today, is the dangers of social media and what it causes to a generation that may be weak-minded or may have mental
or may
illness.
Just be young.
Exactly.
That's so scary to talk about.
There was a couple years ago, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but Instagram removed the likes from their page because there was young girls committing suicide.
Yep.
Because they weren't getting enough likes. And that's real scary when you start thinking about, I like to think I raised my children to be very strong-minded and to always think of themselves like you don't need anybody else's acceptance.
Yeah.
And the reason why I raised you guys that way is because a good part of my life, I felt like I had to have acceptance in certain areas. So when I had my children, I said, you know what? I don't want my kids to be the same way as I had my weaknesses. Mm-hmm. So I raised you guys to be, hey, I'm me and I'm going to be me, and you guys are exactly that. Deanna is nothing like Victor. Victor is nothing like Deanna. My kids are nothing like me. And we have to be careful for the next generation, because I took that in as far as how I was going to raise you. Mm-hmm. But we just talked about this, is not all parents do this. Mm-hmm. And how is social media raising these kids and causing the danger? So like I said, we're coming to the end of the podcast today, but I just wanted your guys' thoughts on the dangers of this and how we have to be careful. And like I said, we're coming to the end. So we're going to kind of keep it short, but give me your thoughts. And Deanna, you want to go first?
It's a touchy subject, just because I had brought it up at the beginning, can we add this to one of the things that we talk about? It's being bullied. Social media, it could be used for good, but there's so many mean people out there that literally mess with your mental health. And sometimes people take breaks from social media for that reason, because of the mean people that are putting out comments or using or going to your profile and using those things against you. a situation that could have happened, like that happened, is like you think you're doing good for yourself, and then someone goes and basically just throws your self-esteem down. I feel like we have to like protect our kids from like not paying attention to what social media is actually showing them.
And it's not just kids, Deanna, because I follow somebody on Instagram who I literally would love to meet one day. His name is Joey Swole. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I know who Joey Soul is.
Joey Swole is hilarious, first of all, but he's a bodybuilder, and he talks about how people are using social media just to get likes and attention, but they're embarrassing other people in the gym.
Yep.
So like he
He's
posted
that guy. He's that guy that posts reactions to other people, like at the gym, recording other people.
Yeah.
Like you've seen those videos. You've definitely seen those videos before. He's one of those guys.
He's all tatted up and stuff.
But you see, like that.
don't be tatted.
No, but there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, and Joey Swole says things on there like, and his tagline is, and I'm giving him publicity here, but love to meet him one day. You got to do better. Mind your business.
Yes.
And the thing is, I mean, there's people posting, people at the gym where they're trying to lift weights, they're trying to get in shape, and they're doing something a little bit wrong, and there's somebody making fun of them. Now, these ain't just kids; these are adults.
Yeah, which I was getting to my point was that as an adult, I went through a situation not too long ago where I was bullied over social media, and I was 28 at the time. Like, it's not just kids, we're grown-ups, and it's just like you mentioned, Dad, like at the gym, they're recording people doing things incorrectly, but instead of just correcting them in the nice way, they use it as publicity to get their TikTok, followers or their people following them and making their comments.
As Quavo and Cardi B once said, they do anything for clout.
I'm doing the thing for clout.
The fact that Victor just quoted Cardi B.
I love you for that.
Yeah, that music video is the shit.
Yeah, like it's just, we have to be more open-minded. And luckily I've had like such a great partner with me these last few years that's helped me understand that. Like, not paying attention to people's comments, not paying attention to what everyone else is doing, or, what's on social media, like there's a life outside of it. And I think that's where I want to say, like, I've grown, because me and Oscar do post that we're like together, but we really don't post everything that we're doing. We usually send it to our families because we want them to know what we're doing. But it's pulled me away from actually being on social media and worrying about everyone else's comments and opinions.
Well, Oscar better start coloring his hair all black again, because if not, he's going to get mistaken as an older gentleman, because sometimes I think his maturity level is beyond his age. So.
I love his gray hair. No way.
Go, baby. For me, I think it's a touchy subject, like Deanna said. I mean, I think because of my daughter, I mean, she worries about her body size, and she's 8 years old. 8-year-old kids shouldn't be worried about their body size.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's gonna suck that one day someone is gonna bully her, because my daughter's a big girl, and she's always gonna be a big girl.
And the thing is, like TikTok, I remember like a couple years ago, like a situation where someone wanted to commit suicide because, and it's someone I know, but because she was being bullied on TikTok, and it's crazy, but people are out, and it's not even probably people you necessarily know, but it's just like you go on a TikTok and you'll see someone do their post, and then you go to their comments, and the comments are crazy. Like, these people don't care. Like, you're not doing anything with your life. Like, why are you even posting that? You're fat. Like, girls that
I think one thing that we didn't get to touch on, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Nana, but it's like the anonymity that some of these people have, and the balls that they have to post and comment the way they comment because they're online is insane.
Because they're millions of miles away.
Yeah, and they don't have the face to show it.
Yeah.
It's that awkwardness. It's even being friends with people. Like, you message them on Facebook, and you can message them every day, and then you see them in person, and you're like, wow, what do I say?
Yeah.
Why is it so weird?
And Vic, I know you when you went on your you called it a rant, but you kind of touched on all of this. Did you want to add anything to the end of this before we close out?
Not really. Other than that part I just brought up right now, because I feel like being a commenter, I think, is a whole other step that people take, becoming chronically online and like using social media. Because I never find myself commenting on YouTube videos or TikTok. I never comment on TikToks, never comment on Instagram posts. I never comment anywhere else. So I feel like that's a weird barrier to cross. Being so much more involved into what you're watching, like by commenting, it's weird.
See, and I do comment, but like I on Instagram, but obviously it's nothing bad. Like you see, like I don't think I would ever have the heart to tell somebody something bad.
So Nana, you
watch it.
Yeah, so like my sister and I actually have this in common, where I watch people live stream on Twitch, and Deanna watches people live stream on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, whoever she's watching is live streaming. But Nana, think about the people who are constantly typing in those chats.
So see,
and donating and typing and donating.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too much into it because I know that we were trying to keep it like a little bit short, but I follow an influencer on TikTok, and she's, you know, someone that I want to meet too. And it's crazy though. Like, you know, she's so strong. And I always tell Oscar, like, I see her so much in me, but she's so strong with all the hate that she gets. Like, she's just out here trying to hustle, like, you know, selling her products or whatever. And then there's just the people in the back, like, oh, you only come on here to sell, like, or just making stupid comments. And it's like, for what?
That's the type of energy that I can't imagine having.
No.
But then I tell Deanna that the reason why they do that is, right, it's a big person. There's thousands of people seeing her thing, and you go on there and you call her a name or you call her fat or whatever, and then now you have thousands of people looking at your profile, and now they're following you.
And that's where Victor goes back to. Yeah, they're doing it for clout.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think that's going to call this podcast. To use it one more time, that's a whole nother podcast topic.
I feel like we keep going off subject. Sorry, Dad.
No, you're fine. And you know, one thing that surprised me when I started hanging out more in Mexico was the utilization of Facebook for different reasons. So I was used to just seeing it for the news, for the chisme, for all kind of stuff. And then I started seeing businesses use it. So when we were in Matamoros, and Liz said, well, let's go here. And she used Facebook to contact them. And she put the order in, and she would talk to them. And she actually got information off of it. Now, being from the United States, I mean, we use different stuff for that, different types of tools for that. But I seen it being utilized for something different, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I wish the places in the United States were so active on using the social media in this way.
Like,
and that's marketing. And, you know, because she would text them right away on the social media, and they would answer, and she would put an order in right there.
Wow.
And it was great. And I start seeing that now, because when we start thinking about the negative part of social media, we get what we just talked about right now. As always, Victor, thank you for your input, your time. Oscar and Deanna, you're welcome back anytime. I think you actually get a kick out of having Noe around. You guys know, well, Deanna knows him for a long time. So, I mean, hopefully you guys can join us again for any other topic.
Definitely.
Anytime.
Yep.
I enjoyed being on here with you guys. Thank you for having us.
And thanks everybody who listened to podcast 1, the inaugural show, podcast 2, movies. And this one will be coming out called podcast 3, social media. And like I do at the end of every show, I put my little 2 cents into some words, into writings that I like to put together. So we're going to close out with the words from Big Papa. On our last podcast, we discussed the best Joker in DC Comics, but we failed to mention Joaquin Phoenix version in 2019. I stick to my word that Heath Ledger will always be my favorite, but the version of the Joker that was put together masterfully and hit on mental illness. A quote from the movie was, "What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash?" Society can be cruel, and so social media can multiply it by 100%. Let's remember that social media is for fun. Don't let it be your judge, jury, or executioner. If you feel weakness or not liking what social media is bringing you, remember, just log out of the app, not out of life. Thank you, everybody. Rhyme and reasoning.